Hey guys, I played Guardians of the Galaxy last week, and while it usually takes me longer than a week for me to finish a game, I got through this one very quickly because I simply couldn't put it down. I was late to several social engagements because I chose to just see what happens next rather than getting ready. Just 30 more minutes was my mantra last week. So while I'm sure you can guess what my final verdict will be, here's my review. I'm not much of a graphics snob, so this will be a short segment. The graphics are exactly as good as you would expect from a modern game. It has the best graphics of any game I've ever played, which makes sense because it's the newest as well. I'd say that if Disney decided to make an animated Guardians movie, they'd have trouble making it look better than this. The highlight of the graphics are the facial expressions that really complement the performance of the voice actors.
It would be wary, Rodin.
You know what? I survived freaking Half-World. I think I'm scared of some little...
It's not alone. Get ready.
The low point of the graphics is the hair. Hair seems to be the bane of animators' existence. This is most prominent in Peter's head and Rocket's tail, where they have what I call anime hair. Instead of actual strands, they just have clumps. All in all, I'd say the good of the graphics serve to enhance the experience, while the bad doesn't distract from it. 9 stars. Gameplay is clearly the weak point of the game. There are 3 different gameplay loops you'll experience, and none of them are particularly engaging. Loop 1 is the walking. You and the crew will be exploring some planet or ship, and you'll just be walking along. Occasionally, you'll be stopped by an obstacle that requires you to call on one of the Guardians to get through. Drax can move heavy objects into place to allow you to climb on them. Gamora can be used to vault you up onto a ledge you couldn't otherwise reach. Groot can make a bridge across a long gap. And Rocket can crawl through tiny holes. If you squint really hard, you could almost consider this a bit of puzzle solving, but in reality, it obviously only exists to prevent it from being a cutscene. Loop 2 is the combat, where you'll enter a large open area and fight a group of baddies. Combat is unique, but not particularly fun. Peter's blasters do almost no damage, and his role in combat is ultimately to tell others what to do. Gamora and Drax deal lots of damage. Groot is for crowd control, and Rocket is a bit of both. Use them correctly and you'll make short work of your opponents, use them poorly and you'll still win, but it'll take longer. Loop 3 is flying. There's a handful of flying parts in the game, and honestly there's not much to say about them other than it's quite honestly the worst flying I've ever done in a video game. Truth be told, they should have just left the flying parts as a cutscene rather than giving you control if that was all they were going to do with it. It's hard to describe without just letting you play it how bad the flying is in this game. So you might be wondering why I enjoyed it so much if I thought the gameplay was so bland and uninspired. Well, that's because of characters and story. The personality of each character is on full display. The way they interact with each other is fantastic. I'm always impressed when a story of any type can evolve the character so gradually that you don't even know it's happening, while also so dramatically that you hardly recognize them by the end. One great example of this is the original Star Wars trilogy, where after watching them destroy the second Death Star and are clearly great friends and heroes, you then go back to A New Hope and are reminded that they all pretty much hated each other and weren't really heroic at all. Another perfect example is Future Man on Hulu, which if you haven't seen, you definitely should watch the first season and forget that any further seasons even exist. But again, if you go back to episode 1 after finishing the final episode, it's almost unbelievable how much they've all changed without you even realizing it. Guardians manages to pull this off with how much the team seems to hate each other in the beginning, to how much they're willing to sacrifice for each other by the end. This wouldn't be possible without the fantastic voice acting, excellent animation, and constant conversations going on during gameplay. Whether you're walking, fighting, or flying, you definitely want to pay attention to the dialogue going on. 34 stars. The story is also quite good, but what's better is the storytelling. I'm actually going to expand on this in a future video, but the way the story has you engaged is fantastic. Every video game kind of boils down to one simple mechanic. It's just a collection of tasks. So you meet somebody who tells you what to do. You then go and fight groups of bad guys. Then you collect the magic item. Then you fight a boss. Then you return it to the person who told you to go get it. That is the basic summary of almost every video game ever made. Do that 100 times and you save the princess. Hooray. And Guardians is no different than that. Like, it is just a collection of tasks, but it never feels like a collection of tasks. At no point in the game did I finish one level and then think, well, that was fun, I'm going to go do something else. I was always engaged in what was going to happen next. It makes you want to play just a few more minutes every time you reach an obvious stopping point. It makes you almost late for the playoffs at your brother's house, or wonder if you really need to shower and stop for snacks just to play tabletop games with your friends. Or, any other completely hypothetical scenarios where just another 5 minutes becomes just another half hour becomes, oh crap, I'm late. Well, if I'm late anyway, another 5 minutes won't hurt. I'm not doing a great job of explaining this, so just think about the fact that I started this review out by saying how much I loved the game and couldn't put it down and played it faster than I've ever played another game before and all these different wonderful things, only to then tell you how terrible all the gameplay is. That should tell you something about the story. 132 stars. So who should play Guardians of the Galaxy? Anyone who is in it for the story. Rather than binge watching 4 hours of some show on Netflix, play 4 hours of this. If you're looking for entertaining characters or a great narrative, there's no game better in those areas, in my personal opinion. Also, anyone who's a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I've never read any of the comics, but I have a hard time believing that this isn't closer to the comics than the movies, and is a great representation of the characters. Who should not play it? If people looking for deep or rewarding gameplay. If you enjoy the challenge of Dark Souls, the puzzles of Breath of the Wild, or the customization of Skyrim, this isn't the game for you. Also, anyone who's looking for something to throw on while they listen to music or a podcast. This isn't Doom. The easiest way to ruin this game is to play it on mute, listen to something else, or talk over the characters. The story and dialogue are the strengths of the game, and without them, this review would be entirely different. Final score, 1,042 stars. Bye.